Coming up on NPT Reports, Aging Matters, Legal Help.
The first thing to always remember about the aging boom is it's not a crisis in itself. It's a good thing that people are living longer lives. The question is, what's the quality of life that they're able to live?
We're seeing seniors aging with legal needs that are rooted in deep financial insecurity.
A lot of times you don't know where to turn when something happens.
There are millions of older adults who do not realize that they have a legal issue when in fact they do.
The right of a senior to age in dignity, I think, is one of the civil rights and human rights fights of our current generation.
My challenge is I'm a single individual and I now am alone, and I need to know what I can do for me.
As an elder law attorney, what motivates me is making sure that my client is not the underdog. We have an obligation to this population. They've contributed substantially to society. And so I think we'd be doing them a disservice if we did not figure out how we can give them the dignity they're entitled to.
Funding for NPT Reports, Aging Matters, was provided through a grant awarded by the Davidson County Chancery Court, Part 3, from the Senior Trust Elder Trust Settlement, case number 11-1548, Part 3, and through a contract administered by the Tennessee Commission on Aging and Disability.
We often think of legal issues being tied to documents, contracts, wills, powers of attorney, advance directives. The reality is, legal help for older adults means navigating a society that is unprepared for both the number and the longevity of people aging in the United States. Hi, I'm Kathy Matea. The most common legal issues older adults face revolve around access to health care, housing, maintaining income, and planning for the future. Navigating benefits and eligibility on your own is incredibly complicated, and the resources that exist for older adults are often underutilized. Hiring a private lawyer to help could be out of reach financially for many older adults. Too often, aging in America means aging into poverty. How do you make ends meet when your income is fixed, but the costs of living are not? How will you find the support and resources you need to maintain your dignity and quality of life as you age? Who can you turn to when you need help? Join me as we explore these issues and look for answers on this edition of Aging Matters, Legal Help.
Aging in America and planning for it takes work. People ask me all the time, now that you're retired, what do you do? And I tell them it just takes more time to live the older you get.
10,000 baby boomers turn 65 each day. One of the first things they'll do is sign up for Medicare, the federal health insurance program for older adults.
When Medicare was first initiated back in 1965, it was quite simple. It had hospital coverage and your medical services coverage, and all you needed was a supplement. Now, with the addition of drug coverage and the option of Medicare Advantage plans, it is more complex, and a person has to consider the cost of both options as well as the convenience that they want in either option.
As far as Medicare is concerned, I did not know what to expect. I had never applied for Medicare before, and so from the very start, it was a learning process for us.
Before even getting to Medicare, we started receiving tons of things in the mail, stacks of paperwork to look through.
So enrolling in Medicare is quite important because you want to do it at the right time to get the right coverage. If you don't enroll in Medicare when you're eligible, then you could face financial penalties that stay with you your entire Medicare life.
Fortunately, the Farrells were persistent, and Julia found someone to help her navigate Medicare through SHIP, the State Health Insurance Assistance Program.
Hi, my name is Julia Farrell, and I need a little help with making some decisions about my drug plan.
Now, if I hadn't had that help from SHIP, I couldn't have navigated all that myself.
As we age, I think we are seeing the importance of having someone to help you. Family, friends, you need somebody there with you to help you navigate this stuff, just to help you live.
Resources like SHIP are a form of prevention through planning. People like the Farrells are banking that if they plan far enough ahead, pay attention to the fine print, and ask the right questions, the reward will be independence, dignity, and quality of life as they age.
When people turn 65, if they're able to talk with someone like a SHIP counselor, a counselor through the state health insurance assistance program, and get all the information they need, then they can get the services that they need and not have to see a lawyer down the road.
Unfortunately, it's the case that sometimes to access your health care, you need a lawyer. So why are lawyers so important in this system as it exists right now? Well, these programs, Medicare, Medicaid, you're either in them or you're not. There are defined eligibility criteria. And if you can meet those criteria, you're in and you get health insurance, and if you don't, you may have nothing, right? We don't have universal coverage in this country. So whether you're in or out really matters. And the rules governing eligibility are really complicated. So the role of attorneys is both expert on the rules to help people, but also an unbiased person who is going to be your champion in a system that is really, unfortunately, is really, really complex, and you need somebody to help you navigate that system sometimes.
As our baby boomers continue to age, where our society is and how we're going to absorb the care for the seniors in our population, to be frank, I think we've underestimated it. I know I did.
Sonia Belafont sees the realities coming from both sides as an elder law attorney and as the legal guardian for her mom, who is living with cognitive decline alongside other health concerns.
You're the reason I love to bake, so check out what I made.
Right now we have successfully moved my mom from Georgia to Tennessee. And now what we're trying to do, now that she's here and in rehab, is we're trying to navigate the process to get her eligible for TennCare Medicaid so that she can be admitted as a nursing home patient.
Did you eat your lunch?
Long-term care is not covered by Medicare. Medicare coverage for rehab in a skilled nursing facility is capped at 100 days. Now it's a race against the clock to get Medicaid to cover long-term care before the 100-day limit and possible discharge. Fortunately, because of Belafont's elder law experience, she's familiar with the process of determining her mother's eligibility and knows what questions to ask to get the ball rolling.
Have you done the pre-eligibility screening yet?
First, the system was locked up. Now we have to get additional training for our new nurse.
What's the timeline here?
I would say by the latest, I would think honestly by the end of next week we would have an answer for sure on which way we need to start looking at if there's a discharge plan or if she's good long term.
We know that she qualifies financially. We're now trying to determine whether or not she'll be eligible based on the PAE, the pre-admission evaluation. There are certain criteria that when someone is admitted to the nursing home that they actually have to meet to be considered medically eligible. The struggle for our family is that for my mom, depending on when you meet with her, she may appear more agile or more able to meet the needs of her activities of daily living. Physically, my mom has no problem moving her arms to take the medication. The problem is that she may not recall whether or not she took the medication already. She may not recall that she has medication to take. And so what's happened is she wasn't taking her medication. And that's how we ended up where we are today with multiple hospital visits and finally determination by a medical professional that she cannot live on her own
her health is declining, where assisted living is no longer an option, and she has to have 24-hour, 7-day-a-week care. What happens if the pre-admission evaluation comes back, even with the safety assessment, and they decide that she's not eligible for nursing home care? We've tried home health care services on more than one occasion. We've tried the rehab twice now, and now if they do not accept her and she's in Tennessee, we don't have, not one of us has a handicapped accessible place that she can live with one of us. I've assisted other people with getting the nursing home care that they need for a loved one. I've assisted not only clients but caregivers. So imagine the irony that I am now sitting in the same position that many of our clients are sitting in. But it gives me a better perspective and even more enhanced appreciation for the struggles that my clients, their family, their friends, and their loved ones are going through every day. Because every day I wake up, it's just the day I'm gonna have to scramble to figure out what to do next.
Meeting the legal needs of older adults requires a specialized approach, but unlike other forms of legal service where a deep and narrow focus is desirable, elder law requires the expertise of a generalist.
Elder law has a distinctly interdisciplinary vision of its goals. It cuts across more areas of a person's life than other areas of law, from housing to health and long-term care to financial stability. So it's a very odd specialization being so broad.
A senior may come to you with an issue, and then as you continue to counsel them, you find out, oh, there's been some financial exploitation by your caregiver. Oh, actually, you are low income enough to be qualifying for some Medicare assistance for your drugs. Oh, on top of all of that, there's no decision-making paperwork. This is an area of law that requires lawyers to constantly be jockeying between different fields of law and have deep expertise in holistically serving an individual.
So how do you know when it's time to call a lawyer? At a Senior and Caregiver Expo in Putnam County, Sonia Belafonte is helping folks understand the role of an attorney and when they should reach out for help.
Well, are you familiar with what we do?
No. When I speak publicly to older adults or caregivers, I make it a point to tell my audience that I would rather you contact a legal service office with a question than to have you contact the legal services office later and you've already become a victim.
Sometimes people just call us because they have a legal question. They don't really want to pay for an attorney. We can often sometimes help in that direction.
Unfortunately, most of the ways that seniors enter the legal system is in a crisis. They're usually not entering the legal system because they're doing advanced planning or preventative measures. There's a huge disconnect between the need and people linking up with lawyers.
You may find that you need an attorney in the future.
An event like this is important to me. There's not enough advertisement as to what's available in our community. It's not set up to help people who need assistance. I never hear about things that are out in the community because you don't hear it on the radio, you don't read it in the newspaper, and you don't hear it by word of mouth.
Sarah Pierce isn't alone. According to a report from the Legal Services Corporation, the major barriers holding older adults back are knowing what legal assistance is available and figuring out how to afford it.
1 out of 2 older adults has a legal problem that they need help with, but less than 1 in 5 of them are actually able to get that help.
Aging in America is complicated by rising cost of living against an income that is fixed for the majority of older adults. The average Social Security retirement benefit generates less than $18,000 of income per year. Half of all older adults in the U.S. are financially insecure, meaning they struggle each month to pay for housing, health care, adequate nutrition, and other expenses. If the lawyers of tomorrow are going to serve the needs of older adults, they're going to need an education in navigating life on a tight budget.
What barriers do poor people face in the legal system?
The cost of just getting to see an attorney.
This class is about poverty law. There is an ideal in the legal profession that We want people to have access to justice. And in fact, ideally we want people to have justice, but you can't get justice unless you have access to it, and access to it often means a lawyer. The system is so complicated for something as essential as basic health care. If you've got money and you're aging, you can find a lawyer, you can pay a lawyer to help you arrange your estate, to make sure that you have everything taken care of. But most people, not just poor people, but middle-class people, often don't realize how much this is going to cost.
Today, these future lawyers are learning about free legal services funded by the federal government.
Legal services emerged out of the war on poverty. At the time, they believed it was a movement. They believed that they were going to end poverty.
The federal government funds free legal aid for older adults through two sources. First, Title III funding through the Older Americans Act of 1965.
Because of the Older Americans Act, there are attorneys in every state who serve the needs of older adults who have the greatest social and economic needs. But that Older Americans Act funding is just a small percentage of what's needed to really serve the legal needs of older Americans.
The second source of federal funding for free legal aid is administered through the Legal Services Corporation, which was founded in 1974 to provide legal assistance to low-income Americans, up to 125% of the federal poverty guidelines. Roughly 7 million older adults meet that criteria. Beyond the financial limitations, legal aid lawyers faced tightened restrictions on the work they could do starting in 1996.
Can we list out the restrictions?
Class action.
Class actions.
Those restrictions spurred the creation of another source of free legal services in Tennessee. It's where Chris Coleman works when he's not teaching law students.
TJC, the Tennessee Justice Center, was founded in 1996, and our founders were legal aid attorneys. Congress put lots of new restrictions on what any federally funded legal aid program could do. Types of cases that they couldn't take anymore. Most importantly, for our purposes, any federally funded legal aid program can't do class action lawsuits. At the time, legal aid, before 1996, had several class action lawsuits dealing with the TennCare program. And those would have been orphaned if our founders had not founded TJC. So we don't take any federal funding, so we're not bound by the same restrictions as a legal aid office. We can bring class actions, we can lobby the legislature for changes in policy, but we still take individual cases because we think it's really important to, one, just to be grounded in the real lived experiences of our clients, to make sure that we know what's happening, but that's also the way that you discover systemic issues. You have to have individual clients and they have a problem, and then you see someone else with the same problem, you realize, oh, this is a policy problem. There's a glitch in the computer system, or there's some reason this is happening to more than one person.
Even with limited resources and restrictions, federal legal aid programs are a crucial safety net. In Tennessee, 4 firms serve all 95 counties.
My mother got sick and went to a nursing home, and I had to find a way to pay for her care, and I couldn't do it. So I talked to people at the nursing home who were waiting for their money, and they gave me the name and number of legal aid. I called them, and they interviewed me over the phone, and I got Matt.
Kathy Phillips was connected with legal aid attorney Matt Schwimmer at West Tennessee Legal Services.
This is saying that this is your preferred person to be conservator,
No.
and for some reason somebody comes along and petitions.
Matt has been a wonderful lawyer and a friend, and it was a blessing to have him on my side. It got complicated.
It gets exponentially more difficult as you get older. The housing issues and the debt issues kind of pile onto what are now healthcare issues and problems with transportation. Whatever the case may be, there's tons of stuff they have to deal with, not to mention benefits, which they figure when you retire it's going to be simple. You're going to get these benefits, but the fact is you have to fight for them a lot of the time.
In Kathy Phillips' case, while trying to figure out how to get her mother's long-term care paid for, she also had to deal with family members who had used a common and powerful legal tool to take advantage of Kathy's mom.
I was my mother's medical power of attorney, and a family member was the financial power of attorney. We go to get her Social Security check at the bank, and they say, you have a zero balance. Your financial power of attorney come and got it. And everything she had was gone. There was no way we could get it back. And we lost different policies and contracts because we couldn't pay for them anymore.
A lot of attorneys will do just a one-page general power of attorney. People will just sign these things without understanding that there's dozens of rights that you're transferring to your agent. We list out every single right that that person is transferring to their agent so that they know, because we have to make it crystal clear to as many people as possible what this is. It's such a simple thing to do, but the consequences can be really drastic. Do you have questions about that?
Nope.
None at all?
None.
You're sure?
I'm sure.
Even with the risk of financial exploitation, designating a power of attorney for finances and medical care is something almost everyone should do. Today, Kathy Phillips is working with her attorney to create her own power of attorney documents.
I signed it to someone that I love and trust and that would put their life on the line for me. It's very important about the person that you pick because they're going to determine everything in your future.
We're going to be helping her power of attorney get settled into her role. People don't know when they become powers of attorney that there is an annual accounting requirement, or that you owe certain duties, or that if you do something self-serving, you can get yourself in a lot of trouble, not to mention harming potentially the principal, who in this situation would be Kathy. So not only do we get to execute those documents for her, but we were able to give her some advice about what her rights are as a principal in a power of attorney situation.
Since the Supreme Court decision Gideon versus Wainwright, courts have established the right to counsel in criminal cases. No such guarantee exists for civil cases. Access to free legal aid for those who can't afford it is limited by the amount of funding that exists or how many volunteer lawyers are willing to donate their time.
For a very long time, we've had senior citizen funding under Title III of the Older Americans Act. That funding has remained stagnant for many, many years. I don't think the amount has increased at all since we were first given the grants back in the late 70s. Obviously, the senior population is rising. We haven't been able to provide a lot of services to senior citizens in this area. What we find is that we turn a lot of people away because there's just not the staffing to be able to handle the need.
Funding has been so limited that legal aid has been reluctant to get the word out about what is available for older adults.
We were scared to go out into the community and tell people to call us for help because you don't want to go out in the community and say we can help you, and then they call and you tell them, sorry, we can't help you, we ran out of money.
That is changing in Tennessee. A recent court settlement is funding free legal aid for older adults across the state, albeit for a limited time. From 2018 to 2021, adults over the age of 60 will have improved access to legal services through a network called the Tennessee Senior Law Alliance. Tennessee's legal aid firms are getting the word out.
Today we're going to the Humboldt Senior Center to talk to the senior citizens there about the legal issues facing senior citizens in West Tennessee and rural areas in general. We're also going to tell them a little bit about the Tennessee Senior Law Alliance and some of the services that we offer. West Tennessee Legal Services, for those of you that aren't familiar, is a free legal service for people that otherwise can't afford an attorney.
The education and outreach is huge. It's been refreshing to be able to go out into the communities and really meet with the seniors in the community where they're comfortable and get to know them. We can serve these clients now. So when they call us, we're going to do our best to provide that full range of service that they need. Especially in our more rural counties, part of becoming a trusted resource in that county is being present.
I don't want y'all to think I have to have some big, massive legal issue to go talk to a lawyer. We help with issues big and small. If you have been scammed or anything like that, the worst thing that you can do is wait to take some action. The best thing you can do is ask for help.
The goals of the Tennessee Senior Law Alliance are to address core areas of legal need among older adults: access to benefits, health care, safe and secure housing, prevention of abuse and exploitation, consumer law and planning, which includes wills, advance directives, and powers of attorney.
My name is Linda Hall. I'm with Legal Aid of East Tennessee. Today we are at the Senior Center in Meigs County. We did a presentation on debt-related issues, which is a huge problem in the senior community. We're going to talk about what kind of debts there are, and we're going to spend the most of our time talking today about what happens if you don't pay those debts. As a senior, you don't have the option to go pick up an extra shift or go down and get a loan at a traditional bank because you don't have a source of income that's going to qualify you. And so the debt that I'm seeing is really sometimes out of desperation, and sometimes because it's either get the debt and live and get your medication or put groceries on your table or die in some cases. We go to senior centers all over East Tennessee. The seniors in these rural communities really don't have access to legal services at all, and maybe don't even know that there is a resource that would allow them to, level the playing field and to be able to seek the court system without having to pay an attorney. His name can be on the account with Social Security.
Yeah.
Currently, we're fortunate, and the state of Tennessee has identified the need, and we're working to address it. But the work is just getting started. I am hoping that the model established here in this state will become something that can be shared and duplicated across the country.
I've found that the problem is much greater than I ever could have imagined doing this. But the really good thing is my caseload starting out was so small, and the more we do this, the more people we're getting. There's no shortage of people that need the help. It's just a matter of letting them know that it's available.
When you actually conceptualize the cost of long-term care, when you think about the expense of medications, the rising cost of food, access to affordable housing, when you think about all that and then factor in the legal issues that could be circulating in all of those areas, it can be overwhelming. And I think I can honestly say, I think that the Tennessee Senior Law Alliance, we're already there. We're already looking down the road. We're already seeing the difficulty in balancing the applicants we're receiving, the resources we have, and the need out there. That's why I think it would behoove us to think proactively and at a much larger scale.
If the legal issues older adults face today are any indication, we have a lot of work to do to help older adults maintain their independence, dignity, and quality of life as they age. The needs will grow as the population of the U.S. continues to age in the coming decades. Meeting the needs of older adults will require a shift in priorities and funding. To learn more and to see all of Nashville Public Television's Aging Matters series, visit our website, wnpt.org/agingmatters. Thanks for watching.
Funding for NPT Reports, Aging Matters, was provided through a grant awarded by the Davidson County Chancery Court, Part 3, from the Senior Trust Elder Trust Settlement, case number 11-1548, Part 3, and through a contract administered by the Tennessee Commission on Aging and Disability.